All right, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to read a little bit, a little short bio on Rafael. So Rafael is a lifelong artist whose father was a renowned New York illustrator. He received several California Art Council grants when the agency was first formed in the 70s. Rafael has been an art director and graphic designer for notable high-tech companies in the Bay Area. He now specializes in fine art painting and conducts classes and workshops throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And again, I hope you will sign up for his workshop. That is June 10th through the 12th. So thank you. And Rafael, I think you can take it away. Let me make sure we have what should be highlighted. Let's see.
The other thing is, because we're going to be, hi, Rafael, 1 second. Nope. Because we're going to be showing his photo reference also, we're going to spotlight it. So in your view of Zoom, if you go up to the top right in view and you want to hit the side-by-side speaker view, so you can see both his desktop and his reference photo. So if you do that, you'll be able to sort of have a split screen, and you can move the screen over so that the photo reference is smaller and he is bigger. I hope that makes sense. So there you go. Rafael, welcome. Yay.
Thank you. Thanks for the Santa Clara Valley Watercolor Society for inviting me, Susan Joaquin for inviting me and helping, and Vicki Wilson for doing this. You're directing, right? You're doing the production on this. Both, but I mean, you know, you help me get set up. I have 3 things. I have the reference, I have the painting, and me and everybody else. So this is terrific. Thanks. Welcome to my studio. It is kind of like an outdoor studio. There's walls. However, the whole ceiling is just skylight from beginning to end, which is terrific, but it can get a little toasty, but you know, in the summertime, and we're almost to summer, so still good. I won't melt on you. But my watercolors might. So anyway, I don't know how many we have, but it's going to be recorded. So again, thanks for having me.
We have about 40 people watching you.
Really? Oh my God. Well, okay. As seen on TV, I guess.
There you go.
So anyway, a little about myself. Vicki mentioned some things. I've been an artist all my life. I was fortunate to be the son of a renowned illustrator in New York, and who has done, I don't know, it's just, I grew up. My dad was a painter and a commercial illustrator, meaning he was working all the time. He had assignments like all the time. And it was a real joy to get in and, you know, sit in and watch him, although studio was locked a lot of the time, but every once in a while I got to sit in, and you know, kids just absorb this stuff. So by the time I got to kindergarten, I got my little, you know, watercolor kit and, you know, special brushes, and the other kids are eating paste. So I got a head start, you could say. But it's a rough life to try and make a career out of this, even for the best. And I think my dad was one of the best. It was rough. So he always said, hey, fall back on something. And I did. I fell way back into the graphic design realm. And to put it mildly, at this stage of my life, I've been through 3 complete revolutions in that career. One was desktop publishing, which of course was complete. I went to college and everything was done by hand lettering, airbrush, illustration, you know, hand, you know, markup comps and the whole bit, you know. Even, you know what was new? Press-on lettering. That was like the coolest new. And of course, you know, the desktop revolution happened, and I got right in on that. I was like, oh my God, I can have control over photo retouching and layout, and, you know, even pre-press. I'm in. So I got into that, and while I was in that, after a number of years, a friend of mine was into television, and he was a terrific illustrator. He graduated big school down in I don't know what, Otis or something. In any case, I was wondering, what's the deal with TV? And it was just beginning, and motion graphics was in its infancy, and I got into that via his help and became an art director for a CBS affiliate and transitioned them from the analog to digital. This is back in 87, 88, 89. That was very exciting. I lived in Monterey at that time. And then the third revolution, I guess would be called the internet, web design. And of course, these companies, were looking for people to, do the web design for them. And it was so new back in 93, 94. They couldn't even advertise it. A lot of people were still going, the what? So this is like Netscape 1.0. So I went from their high-end, paint box, 24-bit graphics, stuff that you can do on Photoshop now, back in the early 90s, to being reduced on the web to the GIF files with, a certain amount of colors, can only use 128 or, it was weird because everybody was on dial-up, right? So I kind of had, I won't go into that, but I've had an interesting career. And now, I hate to use that word retirement. I'm just slacking off painting. I just love to do it. I always have, but I took I left it for about 20 years or so, and just dabbled. But now I'm back into it, dabbling more. What can I say? And I started as I loved oil painting. That was my passion. But in 1984, my studio burned down, and the only way I get back on my feet was to literally get on my feet and start going around painting. And the best way to do that, the most inexpensive way, was watercolor. And at that point, when you lose everything and almost your life too, you don't become fearful of anything. So it was like, okay, boom, I'm going to paint and I don't care. And that's a good approach, because I ended up developing a passion for it. And the reason I really like watercolors is because it's hard to do. Now, it is until you get to know it. But the great thing about it is the ability to, I have to be in control and methodically figure things out. And at the same time, when the paint goes on the paper, you don't have any control over it. And that's why I like it. I have that control, but then I'm very surprised by the result. A lot of people say my paintings don't look like watercolors, and that's probably because of my illustration background and my methodical going about layering, the paint, and just getting result that you want to see without, staying into the, well, it needs to be pure watercolor and no opaque. And, I don't go for that. It's just whatever it takes to get the image that you want. That's my philosophy. Although I don't mix oil and water, but you get the idea. What else can I tell you? I don't want to keep talking about myself. I want to start painting. So in order to prepare for this, I've done a few preliminaries. I practice runs, and oh, there we go. Okay, so here's one, and I use all my own photographs most of the time. If I use others, I get permission, or I use several photos to compose something that they won't be able to, like I like the sky on that one, but I like the water on this one, and I'll do that. That's again my illustration background. I'll just lift from wherever I can, and so I'm not a purist in that way. I just want to get the best composition. So this one, I thought, well, I do a bunch of clouds, and clouds are hard to do. I don't know if I was successful, but I made a practice one. You want to notice here, and I used opaque paint, not for the big white, but for some of the small areas here. And I can kind of show you how that's done. The next one, I went to a couple of years ago, the Mendocino Paint Out, which was a plein air painting festival. And I didn't do this there, but I took the photograph there, and I decided to come in the studio and redo it. It was just one of these incredible days where, the storm seemed to be brewing on the horizon, yet it broke where, in the west, and the sunlight just came through and lit the coastline. And this is on the headlands, and it was a very calm day, and I wanted to get the reflections, and I just thought, oh, this might work. But then yesterday I went and did this, which is in Santa Cruz. This is at Wilder Ranch. I don't know if you know where that is. It's on the Santa Cruz coast. It's beautiful. You can ride your bike or walk along all these cliffs, and then there's access to the beach, and usually nobody's there. And I just love the way that the shape of the sand, and I mean the wetness of the sand, and the power of the water. This isn't finished yet. This one turned out nicely, and I thought, let's do this today, because I think I can get it done in the amount of time we have, and also talk about my process as I'm doing it. Any questions about me or art or anything? Is it appropriate to ask questions now? Great. Okay.
Anybody, you can unmute and ask a question if you need. Okay, sounds like they're ready to go.
Let's get started. All right. Let me talk a little about paints and paper. I'm not set on one particular brand. I've been, a fan of Arches for a long time, forever, it seems, because I don't know, you open the package, and on the cover it says established in 1492. So, okay, so maybe they know what they're doing after all these years. But companies change, and the products do as well. And I still love it, but I don't find it as I'm falling in love now with this paper called Fabriano. And this is Artistico, I guess it's their brand. You always want to get 100% cotton, and I just like the rough grain because it has texture. And it seems to be very bright. And what I like about Fabriano is the lifting properties. You can put some paint on, and oops, I guess that's a little too much, and you can actually lift it off, lift some of the paint off. So I'm finding that very helpful, and it's making me paint a little bit differently. I also like, let me bring it over here. This brand here, it's from Germany. I don't know, maybe my German's terrible, but it's Hahnemühle. It's great stuff. It's also extremely white. You can see it's even whiter than the Fabriano. Why is that important? Because, well, if you're doing coastal scenes and you have white water, it's good to have really white paper, because if you do use some, let's say, gouache, opaque paint on it, this one's permanent white, the whitest one you can get, you'll see the difference between the yellow paper and the white gouache, and it's, he painted that on. So, that's it's good to have that really white paper. All right. And I think I talked about the paints. Most of Winsor Newton, M. Graham, I love that one. Daniel Smith for a few colors. Some people only use Daniel Smith, but I find I need to mix it up a little bit. And a new one, the PWC, it's called, and it's from I think Korea or something. Anyway, really good quality paint that's a lot less expensive. And so I kind of mix and match. Let me tell you how I have my palette set up. And everybody's palette is different, but I keep my earth colors on one. I have different palettes. This one is good for the zoom because it's small and you can see it. So here are my earth colors, and then I have the primaries like yellow. I don't really need orange, but I have it in there. Yellow, primary red, which is cadmium red. Alizarin crimson, a deep purple like Prussian, cobalt, permanent or ultramarine violet. That's what I'm trying to say. Cobalt violet, and then I like Prussian blue. Some people like ultramarine. Some people like phthalo blue. I'm kind of for my deepest blue, I like the Prussian blue. And only recently I discovered that it was developed somewhere in the 1800s as a dye for the Prussian soldiers' uniforms. That's where the name comes from. I never knew that. Anyway, cerulean blue. I got to have these three all the time. Prussian cerulean blue and cobalt. Cobalt that's the pure, that's the primary blue, I would say. And then over down here, Payne's gray, which is a bluish gray. So up here, I have a couple of specialty colors. One is Jaune. My French is terrible. Jaune. Do you know how to pronounce that? Jaune? Anyway.
Yeah, John. It's John.
Jaune.
The yellow.
Jaune Brilliant #1, Jaune Brilliant #2. Yeah. These are my go-to for flesh tones when I'm doing figures and portraits. They have a lot of white in them, but if you water it down, it's really nice. It gets a nice underpainting. And it is for the cliffs because a lot of these cliffs have, flesh tones in them as well. Anyway, so Naples yellow, yellow ochre, raw umber. You notice this is the raw umber here. Raw sienna, burnt umber, and then another raw umber from Daniel Smith. So this is Daniel Smith's raw umber, and this is Winsor Newton raw umber. You couldn't be more different. I don't know if you could see that, but it's like, what? Anyway, I use them both. They both have a purpose. And on the far end here is neutral tint. And now neutral tint is, it's a black, but the reason I call it neutral is it plays well with the other colors. It doesn't change the hue as much as it just darkens the color. Where if you use just a black or a Payne's gray, like say with, ochre or yellow, it'll turn it green, where this neutral tint will just darken it. It'll still be green, but not as much. Okay, and over here are all my ancillary colors. I can actually paint with just all these two front rows. But here is Hooker's green, sap green. I don't really need all these, but I have them on here. I might as well just tell you about them. Sap green, a phthalo green, a green gold, which is azimuthine green. Anyway, it's extremely powerful. You just need a little dot, and it really changes everything. And then the quinacridone gold. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And that's like a super yellow. I mean, again, just a little dot of it, and you're off, and it just changes everything. And then for the sea or the oceans, I have phthalo turquoise and aqua green, and I'll explain that as I'm doing this. They're both, I find them necessary. It's really hard to mix a color to get that nice green that you see in the ocean. And then there's a couple of ones optional. There's lavender, which I probably won't use today, but lunar black. That's the only black I go for. The reason I use it is because it's very chalky. You know, you put it on and you could just mix it on the palette and it'll separate and start looking like texture of the moon, which is why they call it lunar black. And it really comes in handy when I want to get textures and stuff. So enough squawking about that. Let's begin. Some of you who do paint probably already know this, paint in watercolors, that the whole essence, the whole trick of painting in watercolors is how wet or dry your paper is and how thick or thin your paint is. So it's wetness versus viscosity. That's all there is to it. And that's it. Once you get that going, you're done. Actually, it's a lifelong, endless pursuit to, try and master this. And I'm going to do my best right now. So I'm going to just sketch this in. I know it's probably going to be difficult to see this. I'm using like a 2H pencil, and I usually hold it way out here so I could just rough in the shapes. But before I do that, I want to make sure I have a horizon point. And I think in this case, the horizon point is, of course, you could see it. So this shot, I'm standing on in a cove here, looking out, and of course the horizon is, I can't point to it, but you can see it on the reference. So let's establish that. My iPhone here is a little crooked, so trust me, this is straight. It's just slanted down because of the setup. And I'm going to say it's kind of you put my own, like where should this go? Kind of a quarter or maybe a little higher. I definitely want to, most of the painting here is going to be the bottom, so let's just establish that. Boom. You can eyeball it. You don't really have to see it's 3 inches. Pretty darn good. I eyeballed it and it's right on the mark. Can you all see that? You got to be able to see that horizon. Now, everything
yes, we can see it.
there is based off this reference. Now, well, I'm going to start with roughing out the clip on the right. Okay. Now, when I shot this, because of the angle, you'll notice in the reference that the cliff literally falls right on the horizon line. Now, if I were the type of artist that copies, I would just, oh, okay, now I can continue that. But I don't, that's bad composition. You want to break that. You don't want these tangents going. So I'm going to start this clip way up here, and bring it down, just rough it. It kind of comes in maybe about here. And I go really loose. I'm holding the pencil far away, so I don't bear down on it and score the paper. I want to just rough it. Sometimes I'll just use shapes, like, all right, that's where that's going to go. And then over on the side, again, I'm going to break the composition here and put these trees up here. And then, then the shape kind of goes here. I want to leave enough room for the water because that's the beauty part of this. And then this cliff goes down here and then maybe like that. And then the reason I chose this, excuse me, this reference is because I love the light splitting down at the angles. It's very dramatic. It has that dramatic shadow, and that's what I always look for, some drama, some real good contrast. So let me rough this in here. And again, you're probably not going to be able to see this, but I'll do it anyway. And this comes here. The other reason I like this reference is because it's kind of a, if you notice it, it comes around and keeps your eye going. I just like the composition here. So I'm not going to make the water all the way to the end. I'm going to come here and just, well, so we have this nice round shape. And a lot of people ask, well, don't you, make value studies and compositional studies? Yes. When I'm doing a bigger painting. But these small ones, like this is 10 by 14. And yeah, like 10 by 14 or 9 by 12 or something smaller than that, or even 12 by 16. They're, I don't, you know, they're, all right. I always think of, I start painting and it's a sketch. It's a study. I'm studying this, even though I already painted it. It's a study for me. And that way it takes the pressure off perfection and trying to make this good. I really don't care. This is just a study. I recently heard an interview with Ringo Starr, and it was about, the question was, okay, so how do you practice for playing in the Beatles? And he just was astounded. He was like, what? Practice? I never practice. The session begins, I get my drums, I get my sticks, and we play. And I love that momentism in art, that just like, let's just do it. I can come up and, do a whole bunch of different scenes and try and get the values and all that. But I like to just hit the ground running, because I've been at it for a while. Now, I'm not going to discourage anyone from doing that. But for my preference, I just want to start painting, and this is my practice. I'm just get the bones down here. So there's that. What I want to do is make sure I know where this light, there's a streak of light coming down here that's just beautiful. So I'm going to pencil that in right here. And then this comes up, and then I have my trees. Actually, I have my trees going here. And I'm not putting in these, the rocks way far out yet. I want to get the big stuff done first. So there it is. There's this. I'm just going to make an area that I know that the light is going to come down here and go here. And the whole idea is to make it your own, even though it's a photograph. I can fudge it a little bit and make it like I, went above the horizon line. So, how are we doing on time? Where is it? It's 2 o'clock.
Oh, it's 2 o'clock now.
2 o'clock. All right. So I was going to be done with the sketching, but we'll just conduct this really quick. So just put this in here. There's another, here. It's pretty rough. The important thing is I really have to know where this horizon. So I'm going to put this one just a little bit darker. And I'm just going to do, outline here. This thing comes here. And then it's what I want to convey is the depth of this, how this cove, it just kind of sucks you in with the shadow, and it's just really nice. So this is going to be probably a lot looser than the other one. Okay. That's good enough for TV. So I don't know if you can see that. There's not a shoot. Did I move that?
Yes, we can see it.
Everything okay? Good.
Yep.
All right. There's kind of a shadow here. All right, it's okay. Let's just keep going. Anyway, so first thing is the sky. I want to get the sky going, and then I'm going to, once the sky is done, I'm going to put it in the water. Now, the sky is a blend. It's an even wash. It kind of goes from dark to light, but it's mostly blue. So I'm going to mix here. Sorry about my head. And you can't see it, but I use 2 different water bowls. One for cool colors and one for warm, and inevitably they both need to be changed. But this allows me less time to get up and change water. Also, you got to have everything ready, where the brushes are, your paints. Before I start, I should also mention these little sponges. These are really, I just find them invaluable. They're just so great. They're kitchen. Let's see if I can find them here. Get them. They're not this color, but you get them to hang in the kitchen, and I don't know, they get them at the supermarket, but they're reusable. So they're great for using sponges to tap, what am I saying? Tap the water, get some of the water off your brush that has paint on it. And also, once I'm done with these portable palettes, I put it in here damp and close it up, and it keeps the paints moist. But you just want to paint every day, because if you keep them in there for 2 or 3 days, some of the colors might grow mold. So just a heads up on that. That surprised me, especially Prussian blue. I don't know why stuff has ended up being, wait a minute, it's not gray. And I found the gray is actually fungus. So anyway, sorry about my head getting in the way here. And so you probably already know there's 2 ways to get your painting wet. One is with the brush. When it's in a little area like this, I'm just going to use a brush and pre-soak it, so to speak. Sorry about my head. Let me get this. Is that better? And I'm tilting it because it's just water and I can't see it. There's no paint. So I have to be able to make sure that I get it in even amount of water. And I'm going below the horizon line slightly. I'll explain that later. Okay, good. That's nice and moist now. So while that's soaking in, I'm going to mix my color here, and it's going to be primarily, well, I'm going to use cobalt blue because that's the pure blue. They're all pure blue. Let me say that's the primary blue, but it's like too much. It almost looks fake. So I'm going to mix it with some cerulean blue, and let's see how that is. You also have to have enough paint that you don't run out. So I'm going to mix extra, a lot extra. Just get a whole bunch of paint in here, and let me just move this. Move my water. So again, paint consistency. It's a tough call, to see what's the right consistency. Okay, so now I'm going to use just a drop of the really intense Prussian blue, and I think a mixture of all 3 of these is nice. It might be too much. What I do is I test it out, and of course, you want it a little darker because it always dries lighter. So anyway, this is drying up now. Let's make a nice blend across it. It seems simple to do, but actually,
Rafael, your head.
Sorry, thank you.
And someone asked if you could briefly talk about your brushes as you're painting.
Yeah. I'm kind of a square guy. I like these square brushes because you can get a fine line and as well as a big broad stroke, like I'm doing a whole big wash now. So I'm just removing them. Okay, so there's the horizon. The trick is, I know it's shiny, do it and leave it. If I go over this now again, I might as well just start a new painting. It's just really hard to get that, to get that going. Because it'll just end up, with blooming effects, and which are fine, but it isn't something I want here. Also, and you probably already know this if you paint, once you put in my pencil, once you put water over your pencil, or the carbon and lead becomes ingrained into the paper, and it's really hard to erase. You could try, but it's really hard. I don't really care. I don't mind pencil lines. I think they're part of the whole. Seeing them is watching how, it proves that it was done by hand. So I don't mind them. So all this extra paint I'm going to use, I only use a little bit for the sky, but I'm going to use it. Before I do, I'm going to dry it so that I can make this nice sharp line. Dry paper on wet brush is hard lines. Wet paper and wet brush, soft lines. Pretty easy. But it's important, very important to grasp this. Now, before this dries, I'm just going to soften this a little bit. So we have a nice sharp horizon. That's the reason I put this line in here. I got to make it really sharp. Okay, so let me just step away. If you want to mute me, you can. I'm just going to dry this with the hair dryer. Yeah, I think that's pretty dry. Okay. So I'm sorry about my head. I'm going to use some of the same colors here that I used before, but I'm going to change them up a little bit because I'm going to start with the background. Actually, I know I said I'm not going to sketch in, but I am going to sketch in these extra little rocks back here. And the reason why is because I want to leave a little white for the white water in the background. And it's always better to leave it rather than paint it in or scratch it in later. It's not always possible, but we're going to try it here. Okay. So now I'm going to use what I already had, that mixture of the sky, and I'm going to add a little more Prussian blue to it, darken it, and a little bit of, let me get my color notes here. It is the, yeah. Phthalo turquoise. Phthalo turquoise. And again, I'm old school. I got to make sure this works. So I'm going to test it out here. And I see that that is darker than the sky. Just to tone it down, I'm going to just add a tiny pinch of Payne's gray to it. And I'm going to keep this brush out here, but I'm going to use a smaller brush because I have a smaller area. So before I begin, I know I was talking about, hey, make sure you mix a lot of paint. I don't think I have enough paint here. So I got to mix a lot more. So give me a second here. That's better. All right. I think I got it now. Okay. When you're mixing paint, you want to make sure. See, that's why I like these flat brushes. You can go flat, and you want to make sure there's no extra, globules or anything. Make it nice and even, because once you put it with the brush, it's very sensitive. They'll show up, and once you commit to the paper, it's really hard to get rid of that stuff. first thing I'm going to do is the horizon, because that's the straight line, and I'm going to come down from that. So that being said, sorry about my head. Now I'm going to come in with a much smaller brush because I'll have more control. So let me just come in here, and I'm going to go right along the line, the horizon line,
Your head.
carefully as I can. There we go. And then just end it there. Right. Make it a little darker because it always dries lighter. And I'm going to leave a few of these little white spots coming out here. This is the white water. Sorry about my head. And honestly, the best way to do white water when you're doing these things is dry brush. See do you all know what that is? It's kind of like texturing, just using the texture of paper to create what am I, little so it's not perfect, it's just white water here. And once I have that, and it might not be the way I really want it, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is getting the rest done. So now that I have those details done, I'm going to get in here with the larger brush and soak in the rest of the area here. Now I'm going to just go right along. There we go. I'm not too worried about anything here yet. I want to get it wet. I'm just going to do it all. And it's very dry in my studio, so this stuff is, I got to work fast. This is drying very quickly. And I just want to get it all in here. Not being exact about the shape or anything like that yet. It's kind of a blend, so long as it's wet, I can go back over it more than once. All right, now we have that. Down below, it gets green. So I'm going to use some of this. I'm going to add some yellow to it. Now I can do that so long as it's still wet. And I'm going to go up, and it'll blend nicely with the rest of it. Because the closer it comes to you, the shallower the water, and the more, then you'll start seeing the green. And I should note that this is the first pass. All right, we're going to let this dry and do another pass. So this is like the underpainting of the water. Sorry, it's here. Can you see that? I'm just going to kind of connect it here. Should also point out, when you're doing ocean and waves or stuff, the further back you get, the shorter, the waves are, so to speak. And anyway, okay, so that's a nice blend. You see, the more I touch it, the more I get screwed up. So this is really nice part where, again, I need to dry it. So I don't know whether you can mute me, but there you go. All right, that's good enough. at least it's not dripping wet anymore. The studio dries it well. So the next thing I want to do is, and I can't point to the reference, but you could see, I want to get the lightest, I'll point to the painting here. I'm going to put an underpainting here for, like about this color that's on the reference. And I want to put in, see these highlights here. I'm going to do that first. My brushes are full of blue. Change that up. And I want to keep this blue here. So I have another palette down below. Let's move this up. And I'm going to use this one for the terra, not for the water. This is for the land. So I don't have to clean it up and switch. I'm just going to use, I'm a cheapskate. I want to use those colors, I don't want to waste them. So, oh, by the way, it's really hot in here, so I have to spray them and keep them moist. Otherwise, the paint gets a skin on it. You've had that happen, especially outdoors. Okay. So now I'm going to mix some earth colors here. And again, this is good. This is an underpainting. And I'm going to start with the brightest color, which is really kind of like Naples yellow and a pure yellow. I just want to get that. This is going to be that highlight. And this as well. This is a more Naples yellow. And so these are the lightest tones. Yeah, there's a little blue in it, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'll use some of the same color, and now we're going to mix some yellow ochre and raw sienna. And I'm just going to do a light underpainting, darker than that, just to get this filled in here, the shape. I'm leaving a little, that's for the white water. I don't have to do these, it's going to be dark. But I do have to do this part here. No, I'm not being exact, I don't care if it overlaps a little bit, that doesn't bother me. I should mention this underpainting that I'm doing down below. This is that Juan yellow #1. There's a #1 and #2. #1 is very yellow, and #2 is more of a flesh tone pink. I like it as an underpainting because it has a lot of white in it. You could paint over the white, but if you start painting, I could paint over this really easily, but if it's already dark and I put this on top, it'll look kind of funky. Does that make sense? Something to keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm going to tone it down even more. Use this existing color that I already have, and I'm going to add some burnt sienna to warm it up. And burnt umber. I'm keeping this, I don't know if I can. I really want that bright yellow streak. And if I lose it, I'm going to have to paint it in opaquely. But right now, I'd like to keep it, pure. Like I said, I'm not a purist, so whatever it takes to get the result. I'm going to start filling in some of the texture here, just a little bit. Okay. Let's do the same with over here. And this is an underpainting. You all know what I mean by that? It's kind of watercolors is a process of layering. So this is kind of the first layer, the first few layers. And good. Okay, so the sky is totally dry. And I have some of this color. I'm going to start coming in and putting some real dark values in this area here. Hey, I want to introduce you to a new brush, and I haven't used it yet, but it's by Royal and Langnickel. I think they're a company in England. This is a really nice brush. It holds a, look at it, really nice, it's a nice round brush, nice point to it. And it's a mixture between synthetic and natural hair. And I think this is like only $5 or something. It's really, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I'll try that. And I bought another one that's, I like these long rounds because they hold a lot of paint. So we'll try our new brushes here. Now, I'm looking at the reference. I should also mention references, photo reference is exactly what it means. It's just reference. It isn't something that's, you should copy, and just you have to stick with it, exact. First of all, it's a picture I took, and so, even though it's a good camera, the colors are not what you see with your eyes. It's nothing like being out there for real. I mean, these colors were just really amazing, very bright when you're there. And then you print it, and the colors shift again, or you put it up online, and it shifts again. So it's just reference. You want to kind of make your own. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to start with these deep shadows. Actually, I'm going to start with it looks like a cypress tree going out here. So that is Hooker's green. And I always like mixing a little bit of burnt umber in the Hooker's green. So it's not so pure. And I'm just going to come in here and do some, sorry about my head. I'm going to do some of the details by dry brushing it. Whoa, that's leaving the space, around. I got to see through these trees, right? So there we go. And I notice there's a little bit of highlight. I'm going to put a little yellow here. And then fill in the rest. There we go. I think a tree comes here, and then there's, just make sure you could see through it, so it's because that's usually you can. So I'll just leave that, and then use a bigger brush and blend it off. And it's dark. I added some dark blue here to this. And again, I want to keep this nice streak of light coming through. All right, another part of the underpainting. Now let's continue, and we're going to do this part here. This is tricky. See, this is foliage that's going to come out, and so do you paint that opaquely, or do you leave negative space for it? It's 6 of one, half of the other. It's kind of a complex question. You have to tackle it as you do it. Let me get a little space here on the palette. let's see. Get a different brush. Do you ever have brushes roll away from you off your table? Where did it go? Let me get another one. Okay, oh, sorry about the head. Okay, well, I can't find it. It's actually a, one like this, but a longer. I'll use this one. So this is the underpainting, and I'm going to go right over it with, I'm going to use, and I know it's should never use that, never use black, but I want that texture, so I am going to use some of this lunar black. I said Mars black. That's a different color. I don't know if this is showing up, but it's getting some texture. And if I want to leave some of this foliage, this is what I do. I just kind of come in here and dry brush some of the foliage out. So I'm just going to put this value in right now. Try and help the composition. Again, it's just underpainting. It's quite a lot of contrast. I don't know if it's showing up in the video, but it's beginning to get some texture in here. Let's enhance that by using a palette knife. Now I encourage students that, if you don't have to buy a palette knife, but if you have an old credit card, you can cut it up diagonally and it works just as well. You just want a stiff surface. And what I'm going to do is try and scrape some of this out. See that? Is that showing up? Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, this is still an underpainting, so I'm not going to get too into it. But it's starting to come around. All right. So let me get a little more definition on the rocks over here. And this is where I will be using this. It's a hit and miss. It's either going to work or it's not. I don't know. I really don't. So I'm going to mix a little bit with that lunar black, a little of the Daniel Smith raw umber. And what I want to do is put in these really dark areas in here for the rock, And I'm just laying it flat. I'm doing flat areas. Because I have an underpainting underneath this. And see if I got to wait till it soaks in a little bit. Like this is already soaking in. So when I go to scrape it, look at that. I get a lot of texture. So this is now soaking in. Let me see if I go from the top, to get this texture going. And it creates a nice contrast. With the paper and everything. And, and again, just some dry brush here. Okay, I think that's, I don't want to get too detailed right now. It's still very early. So, now that I kind of have, let me just finish up this tone down here. I'll use my new brush. You know, when you paint, it's best to just not hesitate and be bold. You know, if you have a stroke that doesn't quite work, but it's placed with confidence, it'll look good. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. So. What's nice about this paper is, see, if I screw up a little bit, I can come back and lift it. There's no screw ups. What I'm saying is it's malleable. It's really nice. See, I'm toning it down now a little bit from that brightness that it had. And this is a super dark contrast, so I'm going to increase this contrast. And I'm going to tie it in the bottom. Oh. And because this is a rock up here as well, let's get this texture. Does that come through? Can you see that? All right. So I'm going to dry this now. And what time is it? 2:38. Okay, we're doing good, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So okay. Any questions?
If you have a question, you can unmute and ask.
You can be in a chat or
Nothing in the chat right now.
yeah. Okay. So dry in here. It only takes a couple of seconds to get it dry. Oh, I like what's happening here.
I have a quick question. This is Jane.
Hi, Jane.
On your photo study, there's some blue dotted lines drawn in. Were those indicators for something?
That's not on my reference. Where did they come from? I don't, those are not on the reference. So you're right. I don't know whether I touched something and no, they're not for any.
Okay, thank you. And will you be adding some of those globs of kelp or whatever that is at some point also?
This is my next step.
Ah, okay, thank you.
I'm very nervous about it. I'm going to tell you. So,
Bold.
I am, because I like the blend, and I'm going to screw it up. I don't plan to, but this is where things can really get screwed up, because I need to get this shadow in here, right? And if I just paint it in, it's going to be sharp. Remember, it's dry paper, sharp line, and I want that nice softness. So let me show you the other painting here. Maybe this would help. So what I'm going to do, see the difference here? This is more of an even blend, and this has a lot of lifting going on. And I thought, oh, I'm overworking, but actually it's a nice effect, you know, it looks like water, it's soft, and water is always moving. So, let's try and do it. This time I am going to clean up my palette down below. Actually, this one right here, because I kind of have to get pure colors again. So give me a moment and I'll this off. There we go. And so I usually wet the paper and then mix the paint. By the time the paint is I'm finished mixing, the paper will be the right wetness. You know, it's really hard to tell. How do you to explain to somebody how can you tell when the paper is right? I use, you know, 4 categories. There's dry. This is completely dry now. Okay. And then there's soaking wet, which is what I'm going to do. And then there's moist, which is what I want to get that soft effect. So it's not shiny wet. It's just, there's a lot of wetness, but it's moist. And it's really tricky to know exactly when, but I'm going to get in there and do my shadows while it's moist. And then there's damp. And damp is the hardest one to tell because the paper's wet, but you know, how do you tell? Well, one way is to take the back of your fingers, not the front, because that's where a lot of blood circulation. Take the back of them and touch the paper. If it's warm, the paper's warm, it's totally dry. If it's cool to the touch, it's damp. That makes sense? So those are the, you know, it's dry, damp, moist, and wet. Then the consistency of the paint, which is another really hard thing to explain. And there's a lot of people who do it, but I won't go into that now. What I want to do is just get this all wet. And I don't have to come up here because, you know, one thing I did and I shouldn't have done is leave room for the rocks, you know, I painted the water around them and I didn't need to because the rocks are going to be almost black. They're so dark that it, you know, it wasn't necessary, but that's okay. It's done now. I don't want to go back over it. So I'm going to take a big brush and just wet this. And if I go a little bit over, see how some of the paint is coming off now. So I don't want that to really happen. I'm just going to, but it does, if it, you know, because it's so wet. Okay. And the more you brush it, the more you're going to manipulate the paint. All right. Now, I'm going to take, you know, the 1 inch here, make sure I don't have any, and I'm going to, while it's still wet, I'm going to mix this shadow color, which was the same color as the water except darker. And I'm gonna use Payne's gray to really darken it up. And again, there's nothing like doing that to make sure the color is correct. Okay, so let's give it a. It's still very wet. See, it's shiny. You can see how shiny. I want that water to soak in a little bit more, because if it's too wet, it's just going to run and, you know, yuck. And if it's too dry, it'll be sharp. So it's real tricky to figure this out. I'm going to do my best. Okay, so let's start with the shape down here. All right, I like that. It's somewhat sharp. Let's just fill it in. And I'm actually drawing with the brush now. And we have a little contour that goes here. Let's fill that in. And then as we go up, it gets a little lighter. the shadows. And then we have this seaweed, I guess, right? And it's just, I'm just dotting it. I'm not, I'm just kind of putting it in there. The main thing is that I want to tie it all together. And this is getting very soft, but that's okay. It's not exactly to the reference, but I like it. I like it so far. So I'm going to take a little bit out here. I'm going to soften the edge up here, just using a little water. Now, I'm going to use just pure Payne's gray for these really dark areas that seem that the kelp, that's what I'm looking for, kelp. I can add a little bit of green to that, Hooker's green, make it look like kelp. And I'm doing my own kelp. I'm not doing it exactly the way this reference is. You have to just do it, All right. And I have to trust that that's going to be okay. So now I'm going to leave this and dry it, and then come back and finish some of the others. So far, I don't know if so far so good, but so far this is where we're at. While it's still a little damp, see, the more I mess with it, the more it looks kind of overworked. There's a real balancing act here. You just kind of have to figure out. See, I just messed it up, I think, because this is dry and this is wet. But let's see if I can fix it. There we go. I'll just add water. When in doubt, just add water. All right. Well, that's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what exactly is happening here, but one thing I can say that the waves, they're going like this, and you want to have that consistent all the way through. You see when I put the water on top of the blend that I had to wash, it took some of the paint out. So I'm going to let this dry and then go back over it again. So let me do that. I'm taking it away because everything will just, it's blow dry, it blows everything out. Oh. Okay, so. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure if I like it, but I'm not done yet. You gotta keep telling yourself, you're not done, you're not done. All right. People were asking about brushes. This is actually one of my favorite little brushes. See, it is, it's a flat brush, but a long hair and small. This is only like 1/4 inch, as opposed to, this one 1/4 inch with a short hair. You just have, you can use a lot more paint. That's why I like them. And it's good for details. So we're going to start getting into the details. Okay, so I'm going to go my blue palette here and mix some I'm using basically the blues I already have with some neutral tint. And that would give me the these deep shadows in here. Because they are very, very deep shadows, and it'll allow me to put in these rocks. Now, I'm waiting this because this got a little bit too dark. So instead of trying to fold up, I'm going to just try to scrape it. There we go. This is some of what I'm going to be teaching in the workshops. Textures, how to get these nice textures on rocks. Nice contrast. Not too much. So it looks like the light's hitting it, doesn't it? I don't know. To me, it does. I can't hear you guys, so I'm just talking to myself, as usual, when I'm painting. All right, so let's get a little more contrast in here. Because we have this underpainting, I can come in and scrape it off, get that nice texture. Ooh, look at that. I'm not trying to conform with the reference so much as just kind of do my own interpretation of it. And I like leaving things a little bit loose. So far that looks good to me. Well, let's just do this one now. See, if I left it and just went, I left the space, the negative space for the rock. If I just left it blue, I'm gonna have to go over this rock again. It'll be between the blue underneath and the dark color I'm putting on, that'll be enough. But now I can see I have to do it twice. And it's not a problem. It's just that, you know, going over watercolor more than once, you know, it tends to get this edge around it. And, you know, I think you've experienced, you know, which is a great effect, but it isn't something I want. So, so far, no white paint. Proud of myself. And it looks like whitewater, I think. Does it? Yeah.
It does.
Okay, good.
When you put your head that far in, it blurs out the painting image because it focuses on your head.
I keep getting my head in the way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
I'm not paying attention to my head, so sorry about that. I'm gonna step back. Okay. Now, what I'm seeing, and this is almost dry, is that there's a lot. I need a lot more contrast here. It's almost black, you know. So I'm going to tell you how to get a. I'm going to tell you, I lost the brush that I want. No, hang on a minute. Did I drop it on the floor? Okay, hold on. That's never happened before, right? Lose a brush right. It's like right in front of me. I know it is, but I can't find it. probably put it somewhere because I really wanted to use it, and now I can't find it. So I'm going to use the shorter one. I have this one in the longer stem to hold more paint. I don't have that, so let's use this one. A really good shadow color is, believe it or not, I'm going to use some of this existing blue, is Blazing Crimson and a dark blue like the Prussian blue, and mix them together. And the more blue, the cooler it is, and the more crimson, the warmer it is. And that is, it's blacker than the black you can buy, you know. So that's what I'm going to use to get this shape in here, right over. There we go. There's that nice contrast. It's almost pure black, but it's not black. Nope. And there's kind of an edge to it, so let's just go. And then I'm just going to blend it in. All right. Oh man, that's the contrast that I'm wanting to get. So let's see what the other one. Now we have the color. I don't know. How's it looking so far? All right. It's coming along.
It is. It's definitely, yeah, looking good.
All right. So now that I have this, I'm going to use some of the same color here because when you go over this, the earth colors, it really makes a nice shadow. You know, I used to do my oils, landscapes were always palette knife. I miss that. And I think that's what I need to do this summer is, you know, some palette knife work in oils. I don't know, I have a hankering. So I'm not going to, I mean, outside of this workshop that I'm going to do on the 10th through 12th, I don't really have anything going on this summer. Yay, which means I can, you know, it's for me. I want to paint. So I took a trip to Death Valley and southern Utah in May, actually May 9th through the 22nd. And it was fantastic. And I got oh man, I couldn't believe it. Inspired and places that I've always wanted to go, never seen before, which was Capitol Reef and Canyonlands and Arches. So I finally did that, and I got back in time. You know, I planned to make sure I was here for the demo and workshop, but I was like, oh, I wish I had done a workshop in canyons because I'm stoked to do those things with it. I had to switch gears and go into water, which I love, but I got to tell you the truth. It doesn't matter what you paint. I don't care if it's a figure or if it's a landscape or still life or whatever it is, all the same principles apply. You need to be able to draw at least the shapes, get them representationally, get them correct. And you need to connect those shapes into a composition, you know? So it doesn't matter. Once you know how to do that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter what you paint. You're always going to be, you know, using that same method. Okay, so see how dark this is here? I'm going to show you how this paper can lift some of that out to get some of the texture underneath. But before I do that, I want to dry it once more. And I'm gonna fix the water up a little. See these kind of weird waves that happen when I put the when I wet the paper again. So let me make sure it's completely dry. And the reason I do that is because even if it's damp, you start putting water over it again, it will get weird on you, you know? So. Okay. Now, this, oh, I'm sorry. Some super dirty water here. Let me put some fresh water for this part. Yeah. All right. All right, nice and clean. All right, here we go. I'm just going to wet it. Again, that's what's great about watercolor. You layering, you know. All right, smaller brush and as I remember, it was just so beautiful, the blue and the turquoise. It's such an unusual color. I was like, how am I going to get that? No, this. See, I could just come in and just with a few dabs here. Not too much, but since it's really wet, what you want to do is have the strokes go in the same proportion as the water. You can lose a little of the white water here, I think. And just a few dry brush strokes. Remember I said, as you go back, the waves. Okay, so this is really wet now, and there's a little bit of green coming. It's actually a reflection. This thing is reflecting a little bit. So, oops. So let's try and mimic that a little, if possible. It isn't green so much as it is it's looking green, but it's more of a umber color. All right. So long as it's wet, you can do this. And this is far away. So down here, it isn't really happening, but there is a reflection. Oops. You notice the contour is completely different than the reference. That's okay. It's the effect that I want. And this is blending nicely. I'm going to leave that and let the watercolor do its thing. This, not so much. This is screwed up. I don't know what I did here. But I'm wondering if I should just leave well enough alone. I think I will, but can you see the streaks in here? See, when I went over it again, it ended up streaking a little bit. Anyway, we're just about done. Remember I was saying about pencil lines not being able to erase them. There's a pencil line up here. No, I can a little bit of it I can get out, but not so much. So if that bothers you, it doesn't bother me, but if you ever come across it and it's like, that's not what I wanted, just extend it over, so you're drawing with it. See, there, I fixed it. Can't see the pencil line. And maybe I'll extend this here and see what I mean about bold strokes. You want to have these strokes bold, so it's it looks intentional. That's the important thing. Oh, geez, I didn't get this. So this dried up, but I want some of the texture, so I'm going to re-wet it and scrape some of it out. Oops, maybe not that much. And just having a few of these lines come through makes it, oh, I see, this is a cliff. Because honestly, most of it's in the dark, you can't see it. But now that I just I indicated, that's the key word, indication. I indicated that there's some rocks here with some texture, and that puts in the viewer's mind, oh, I see what that is. Makes sense? Okay. Scrape out a little more texture. So I'm going to finish it up down here. And I'm going to use that shadow color that I mixed, which is the crimson and dark blue. My mind goes blank with colors. It's weird.
Is it Prussian?
Prussian blue. Thank you. For some of these in here, and you notice it's turned a little bit green actually, which is fine because it's really just a shadow. And that's all I want to do here. I'm going to warm it up with a little burnt sienna. Let it run. Let the watercolor do its thing. And a little bit of that green gold, really intense color. Maybe too intense. I don't want the viewer to, the eyes to be going straight to that all the time. So let me tone it down a little Naples yellow. And let's see, we'll use that new brush, this one here, and I'm just going to do some of the grass coming out. Oops, it's too dark. It's just flicks, we're just doing a few flicks here. Breaking up the ground a little bit. That's all. I like keeping, you know, like a bookend, you know, kind of, see how it's, I want to get the edges. If the edges are real light, the viewers tends to drop off and you know, so I'm lightening it up a little bit here. I'm sorry, darkening the edges, leaving it light here. And I'll come back to that. See, all you have to do is a few of these and they go, oh, okay, that's a hill. It's not just the shape. Now they just put a few of these in here. And now it looks like a hill. Sometimes these brushes have, they have their own little scrapers, you know, the end of the brush. And like I said, it's whatever it takes to get the effect that you need. I'm going to come in here and lighten this up a little bit more. Good paper allows you to scrape, you know, really get some nice textures. But if it's cheap paper, you're going to go right through it, and then you know, there you go. It's better. I'm almost done. How we're doing on time? 3:12. Just it goes to 3:30 or 4. I'd stay extra for questions or anything.
Yeah, about that. 3:30 would be probably a good time to finish up the painting, and then you can have questions.
No, the painting is you know, practically finished. I'm kind of happy with it. I want to show you a few extra tricks when you come to you know, like I want a little white water over here. I don't, but I'm going to show you. You just take an X-Acto blade, got to be totally dry, and just come in and scrape it a little bit. See that? That's, I'm sorry, I got my head in the way again. You see what I did? So you can just scratch it off. It's got to be dry paper. This isn't like, oh my God, look at that. I got my fingerprints all over there. All right, that happens, especially in the demo. I'm going to finish it up here with a little more. I'm going to wet this again. Because of the underpainting, I can come in here and scrape out some highlights. And here. Softening some of these. This part here, I just kind of want to really leave it almost abstract. You know, I really like what's going. It's just interesting. I don't know if that makes sense. It's kind of interesting to me, so I'm just going to come in here and put some contrast in. There we go. I like it making it very painterly, you know.
This is like
That's just the thing. Okay. I think I've done about all I can do with this. I can keep futzing with it, but you know, less is more. The more I futz with it, the more it's going to look overworked.
it should say dark.
The only thing this is kind of weird, is it comes up and then down. So maybe what I'll do is, just to finish it up, is I'm gonna extend these out here, just sort of break up the composition a little bit.
It's muted.
All right, there we go. All right. One more thing before we go. And I'm trying to see it on my screen here, but I have some streaks going on. You see that? So what I could, well, you know what, I don't want to mess with it. But one thing that can be done, you get a clean brush and you get all the water out of it, so it's just damp. And you can come in and lift. This paper really allows you to lift. So I can come in here and just make a few notions of waves. I'm not even sure if this is showing up. It's very subtle. See, there's one that I, it's a mistake, and I'm just going to make a wave out of it. I'm going to wet this again because I lost a lot of that contrast of the kelp. So let's just put that in again. See, if you wet it, then you can just come in and drop some points down, and it'll look nice and soft, and it'll look deliberate, like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. And the wave comes in here. So long as you get it to go along, you don't want waves going in different directions, Okay, I think at this point, I'm going to overwork this piece. So there we go. I'm going to call it done. What are
Okay, Rafael, I took down your the image you were sharing, the reference photo, so we could keep.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. All right.
Now, does anybody have questions? If you want to put your hand up, or if you want to unmute and you can ask.
This is Jane. Is that a 140-pound rough paper? I know you showed us a few different pads that you like, but what are you painting? It is
rough. Yes. There's rough, and then there's fine grain, and they both work. I prefer rough for just about all my painting, but I've used fine grain too.
And at one point, when you did the grasses in the foreground, you had a different kind of liner that I've not seen. It was a gray handle or a silver handle. What's that brand?
This is Royal and Langnickel, Langnickel, called a Zen brush, Zen. They're really inexpensive, and I have a whole bunch of them. I think I saw them at California Art Supply in San Mateo, and I'm not kidding. I went there yesterday to get more paper, and the guy, hey, did you check this out? And I think this one, the small one, is like $3. This is $5. They're usually like 13 and 23, for an equivalent brush. So they're great. I like these for rounds. I really like the flat brushes because it allows you to go sharp and bold and broad at the same, without changing brushes. I noticed that this is drying really weird now. I'm going to leave it. I could put another coat down here, but I think I'd be really overworking it at this point, It's, I really enjoyed this. It's difficult because it's not only doing your art, but it's performance art as well. I don't think about what I'm talking about. And a lot of times, as you can see, I'm like, I forget a word or get spaced out or get distracted. That never happens to anybody, right? And so I appreciate your patience with my demo. And I hope that that some of you, if you come to my workshop, the Zoom workshop, I'll be, it'll be, I don't do many Zoom workshops, but we're going to do it so that, as you can see how I did this, it's in stages. So we'll do the sky, and then you all will do a sky, and then, we'll do the underpainting, and then you'll do the underpainting, and then we'll just go like that. That makes the most sense to me, doing this kind of a workshop. And that way, nobody's left behind, and nobody's like, oh, I didn't get that part. I want to keep everybody on the same, at the same stage of painting, so that we can progress that way. I will have for Susan, or I guess actually Vicky, reference, and then some extra supplies. Those of you who are going to join the workshop, really the supplies would just include like a credit card, so you can get some of this texture. There's some extra colors I got to check. I think I put everything down there, but I want to make sure you have the aqua colors, to get this water. And what else are I going to say?
Rafael, they have the supply list.
Yes.
So they'll be able to see that unless you are amending it, you can send that out.
I augment that with just a couple extra things. It won't be any big deal, Well,
so for the workshop, you're gonna do one image a day, and students will be provided with the reference photo, but not the line drawing, correct?
No, I'm gonna allow them to draw, because we have a lot of time. So
Yeah. So we'll send those photo references out to you shortly if you signed up for the workshop. That way you can get a photo printed, so you have it for painting.
Yes, and if you can print them, sorry about my head. See, I went to FedEx and had this laser printed. I don't have a laser printer, I have an inkjet. And what I just got, inkjet works great, but what I discovered is once you get them wet, they disintegrate. And then
people are pretty familiar with how to go and get a.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. So there still are spots open. So if you wish to attend, you need to go to the website and go ahead and enroll. And we will be getting an email out to all the students with everything that you need.
Yeah.
And the workshop again is June 10th through the 12th, but it is best that if you can sign up as early as possible so we can make sure that you get the materials you need.
Right. And the hours again are
9:30 to 3:30.
9:30 to 3:30. Okay, good time for the studio.
Right, with a lunch, with a lunch
9:30 to 3.
Oh, 9:30 to 3.
9:33. Okay, that's just even better.
Yeah.
Because it's what is it, 3:30 now? And no, I still have good light. You can still see it, but it changes and it could get a lot warmer, and that's perfect. That's perfect. So we'll probably take an hour break each day,
Yeah, we'll do an hour lunch.
Yeah.
And you can take a morning and afternoon break.
And Vicky, will you be helping?
I will be there. Yeah, I will be here, and I'll be able to spotlight anyone who wants to show you their work.
Yes. Great. What else is that? So can you send me your email, Vicky?
You're gonna send Rafael, you're gonna send everything to Susan.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the day. I hope it was worthwhile taking a couple of hours out of your day to watch me paint. It's always an education for me. And like I said, it's like performance art and visual art. It's I'm not as used to it as some other artists, but I'm going to get more used to it because I want to do more of this.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, if you want to unmute and say thanks, we're going to be signing off here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.